Hello and welcome. We are live at EGX 2015 in Birmingham for the Gfinity CSGO Champion of Champions tournament. There's $100,000 on the line, 4 of the very best teams from all around the world fighting it out for that amazing prize pot and the title of Champion of Champions. 2 unbelievable days of CSGO action in store for you. Stick the kettle on, order the pizzas. You do not want to miss any of this. Enough from me. I'm going to hand you over to your analyst desk. 3 very talented, very charismatic and good-looking boys are going to talk you through how this is all going to work. Thorin, Richard Lewis, and your host, Lycan, over to you.
Thanks a ton, Martin. Welcome again to the CSGO Champion of Champions here with Gfinity. My name is Lycan. With me, I have 2 of esports' finest. First of all, descending from the mountain, it is Richard Lewis himself. And then, of course, from the catacombs of esports antiquity, it is Duncan Thorin Shields. How you doing, guys?
I like that. That was a good intro. First, let me just formally welcome you to an live game. Here you go. Welcome to Counter-Strike, buddy.
Thank you.
This is the big show. People watch this. So it's great to have you here. Yeah, we're doing good. Obviously, this is my old stomping ground. I live in Birmingham, so it's great to see a premier event like this sort of come to home soil. And, of course, it means I can just get a taxi. And,
I mean, after this event, it'll be one of NiP's stomping grounds. Where, you know, so they're not even from here, though.
Yeah, let's get it in early. Why not?
Yeah. So, as this is my first Counter-Strike event, I studied a little bit. I wanted to make sure that I did this right, and I watched you, Richard. I watched your
that
hosting.
Won't help you.
Well, I figured that I should bring a tradition. I wanted to make sure that my desk side manner was proper, so I brought a gift for you guys.
Oh, here we go. It's prop humor.
There we go.
There we go.
I believe as the host, I'm supposed to give you guys the
legends,
banana, right?
mate. Yeah. He's got the jokes all wrong, hasn't he?
Well, thank you. We are going to see the King of Banana here playing in an event, and we'll get to talk about him in just a little bit. So there we go. I've managed to tie it all together.
Well done.
Well done.
Well crafted.
So we have some exciting games going on. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule, see who we're going to see this week. And looking now, we have Ninjas in Pajamas, Fnatic, NVS and Virtus Pro. Our first game is going to be Fnatic versus Ninjas in Pajamas, followed by the NVS Virtus Pro game. That'll be today, and then tomorrow will be the grand final. That'll be at 11 o'clock local, and that'll be on the teams that make it through.
Yeah. Winner of the second semi-final versus Fnatic. Yeah, it's going to be a great final.
A recurring theme that we're going to see is the criticism or the disregard of NiP, whichever way you want to go.
He's doing it. So.
I prefer to call it realistic observation of facts as they appear to a reasonable human.
Okay, well, tell us about that, Duncan.
Sorry, what did you say?
All right, let's take a look at the graphic for the teams that are going to play. Again, we know who is playing, but this is the roster, the lineup. Richard, go ahead and walk us through the teams we're going to see today.
Well, this is why it's an amazing tournament. As you can see, it's called the Champion of Champions for a reason. All of these teams, with the exception of NiP, of course, won a Gfinity. You've got Fnatic. Probably is the #1 team in the world. I don't think anyone would argue with that. But there have been some signs that Fnatic haven't been vintage. They haven't been in their top form. We've noticed that at the major in Cologne, for example, they really had to dig deep to beat Virtus Pro in that semi-final, and then they had to pull back ridiculously on Dust 2 against NVS. So Fnatic have got something to prove here, but equally there are questions surrounding them that they have to answer. NVS right now, they're coming in on a real hot run of form. They had a bit of disappointment in Dubai, but of course, after they were assembled together, they did make it to the final of the major. They just recently won DreamHack London. Me and Duncan were there last week, and they looked incredible against TSM. Virtus Pro, they won ESL Dubai. They're back to winning tournaments since they've changed some things around, putting Neo on the AWP and putting Pasha onto rifles. They just seem to have this new kind of zest about them. And then, of course, NiP, which, Duncan's going to count them out of the running. But what I will say is, if anyone thinks they're going to be the whipping boys, don't bet on that at all, because they've been playing with a kind of, a new spirit. There's a lot of question marks about the team right now. This could be their final goodbye. I know we've been saying that for a few events. I think this is it. I think this is the last time we'll see this 5 here. And they're going to want to go out on a high, which, of course, is what their entire career was about, a series of highs.
And lows.
Yeah, so now. But they're the original great team. They're the original dynasty.
Well, that's what makes the actual tournament, the theme does fit. Because, okay, 3 of the teams were Gfinity champions. Obviously, you can't have a tournament with just 3 teams. It'd be very difficult to structure. So you need a 4th one to round out the numbers. And if you're going to pick a 4th one, well, there isn't another champion anyway. It's not like if you pick TSM, they won a Gfinity. They didn't. Yeah. So as a result, why not pick NiP? They're the original champions of CSGO. 4 of the players in the lineup are among the greatest, most accomplished, decorated champions we have in the history of the game. So why not have it like the new school champions who've won all the recent events versus the old great champions, and see maybe that mixture adds in a little extra zest to the story. Like, hey, maybe they can pull maps out of somewhere. Hey, maybe they can even win a series and make it interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. From the sound of that, are you expecting NiP to go down 0-3?
I think 0-3 is probably a bit harsh. It's very difficult to win a best of 5 3-0, even if you're the better team, because it's such a marathon to get to 3 maps. I think NiP can definitely win maps. They can maybe even make it a 5-game series if they get the right maps. History says, though, that Fnatic have tended to nearly always bear out in those big series against them. In a best of 5, they've actually never played a best of 5 against each other. So yeah. I don't think it's looking good for NiP, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and just to add to that, I think what you've got to remember here is these players, they're kind of playing for their future a little bit, some of them. We've all seen the rumors online coming into this tournament. We know that maybe the speculation that 3 players are going to be brought in from Gamers 2. And, of course, one of the names were missing. We've heard that maybe Get Right's going across the Atlantic. These are all established rumors right now. And, you know, I think, in particular, like someone like Freiberg that hasn't been mentioned, hasn't been linked with the team, he's in the shop window, right? Like, he's got to prove I'm still worth joining a team. So actually, I think, you know, Arlu as well, if he decides to keep playing. So I think actually, if anything, that these guys are really going to want to have a point to prove. They're going to try and, you know, be on their best level. They're playing for something a bit more tangible than just the prize money here.
All right, in one of Duncan's recent videos, he's discussed the maps with regard to NiP and how NiP doesn't really have a map, right? What kind of, I guess, what would you say their best maps would be that we would want to see from them to have the chance against Fnatic?
I'll let Duncan fill that one, but I will add the caveat that it's incredibly hard to tell what NiP's best maps are, because obviously teams practice between events, but historically, when it comes to the map Veto, NiP always make it difficult on themselves. They never seem, they almost pick into their opponent's maps. They do it continually. I've never been able to figure out why they do it. I think the latter part of their career, collectively as a team, would have been very differently if they vetoed a lot smarter. That's just my opinion, but obviously Duncan can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's only 3 maps that NiP actually have shown strength on statistically, which is Inferno, Cash, and Dust 2. Now, the problem is, the reason why you can't say they've got one that's the strong one, they haven't got a home map, basically. They're not better on any of those maps than, for example, some of the teams here. Each of these teams here can pick one of those maps they're better on, and NiP themselves haven't shown any kind of like consistency. We think this is they don't have their own identity. This is our strongest map, regardless of the stats. So they've been rotating it around. So even though Inferno, over the last 3 or 4 months, is statistically their best map, recently they're going towards Dust 2 all the time. Then in the middle period, sometimes they were playing Cash. Actually, when this lineup first came together at the first major, they were able to play Cash there very well. They were able to beat Envious on it, who was a really top team. So they have a couple of maps, like 3 basically, that they're strong on. But the problem they have is not as strong as the teams here on those maps, and they themselves don't have one that they even think in their own minds, like, this is our map. They themselves are always kind of second-guessing themselves. Should we go with this one this series? Should we switch it up? So, and I think that's going to be one of the problems they have in this kind of a pool. Because there's no weak teams, the other teams here all have 4 or more maps. If you're talking about teams like VP and Fnatic, they basically have almost all the map pools. So that's what's going to be very difficult about a best of 5 if you're NiP.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the format and what's on the line for this weekend. Coming up, we have every match is going to be a best of 5. We have 4 amazing teams, $100,000 total on the line just for showing up. Teams get $10,000. Then tomorrow, if they make it, it's either $30,000 for second place and $50,000 for first place. Single elimination format, so that we're not having any groups. And we go right into the semifinals. So it kind of, in a way, it's like we have, looking at these teams, 3 grand finals.
Yeah. And this is why this event's great, and just in general, it's great to see Gfinity sort of embrace this idea. First of all, the qualification is obviously to have won a Gfinity, so you've already been rewarded for that, but now you're getting $10,000 just for coming and playing in the Champion of Champions. Like that's the minimum you're going to go away with. So that's a respectable chunk of change just for showing up. But on top of that, you know, the idea of doing a best of 5s, you know, me and Duncan, we talk about this a lot. It took us a long time to get best of 5s in the finals. We were going on about this for ages, that is the definitive way to do things. I did a tournament that had a best of 7. Don't recommend that by any stretch of imagination. That is too much. Best of 5 is the definitive way to decide a champion. So to be doing it in the semi-finals, this is great, because all of these teams are capable of winning this tournament. That's a fact. They're all capable of beating each other on their day. These are elite-level teams. So to see a best of 5, which is the best way to decide who the better teams are, this is a real feast of Counter-Strike. This is Counter-Strike at its highest level, played in the optimal conditions to decide who's best on the day. So really excited about it.
Yeah, and obviously you only really want to test a format like this where even the semi is a best of 5 if even the semi-final has quality teams where, as you mentioned here, okay, even though we're talking now like NiP's a lesser team, because at the moment they haven't been a top 5 team, well, NiP versus Fnatic was the final of the first major of the year, only back in March. That's still not that long ago, even though in CS terms feels like years, you know. This really was 2 teams contending and going down to the wire for the first major of the year. So every match has the potential to stretch to the full 5 maps, especially our second one, I think. I think has a real chance of going all the way. And so at this sort of level, best of 3 really doesn't cut it entirely. I understand for time concerns at other events, and if you've got to fit 16 teams in, okay, you have to make some compromises there. But let's be real, even the majors at the moment don't have best of 5, even in the final. So even a semi-final here has the potential to be better than any match you've seen at a major in the history of CSGO.
All right, so let's talk about overall predictions, right? Who do you think is going to take the game?
Well, you can see here, I saw this earlier, I'm kind of a little bit... kind of alarmed. I went for Envious. I've said this. I think they are going to be the next #1 team when the Fnatic era finally ends. I mean, it's a miracle that the Fnatic era has lasted as long as it has. They are, you know, just on another level. Every time you think, okay, the wheel's going to come off, they keep going. But Envious, since bringing in these 2 new players in the form of Apex and Kenny S, which they picked up from Titan, for me, I think they're one of the most exciting teams to watch. Kenny S absolutely destroyed TSM at DreamHack London last weekend. If he carries on that form, I think he's going to be a spearhead for another Envious win on British soil. So that's just my opinion.
I mean, you'll note there's, okay, so there's 7 names here. Everyone makes it out as though I'm the guy who dislikes NiP and I always down talk them. I don't see any of the 7 people picking NiP here. They picked everyone else. But that's the thing. There is no real wrong answer out of those 3 teams because Virtus Pro looked absolutely indomitable when they were at the ESA Dubai tournament. But no one ever knows when they're going to be in that form, so I can understand why people have gone for that, because if it does happen, sure, they can win this tournament. We just don't know if they will. Envious are the hottest team at the moment. Their form at DreamHack London look like they're capable of beating anyone. Haven't so far in history with any of the lineups beaten Fnatic in a best of 3, as we saw in the major final. And then Fnatic, okay, it's true, they're not at their height. They're not at the zenith, the apex of where they've been, no pun intended, obviously, for the Envious scenario there. But they are a team who just find a way to get back to the top again. And their baseline level is really good. They're always top 4. Obviously, at this event, we start in the top 4, but they make finals routinely. And so they're the one team I think you can never count out.
All right. And for those of you at home, if you want to join in the discussion, you want to talk about who you think is going to win, you can tweet at us at Gfinity. You can also, if you're in the crowd, take a picture on Instagram at GfinityUK, tag us, and let us know what you think about the event. One thing I want to ask you, though, is, Thorin, you have Fnatic taking it. That possibly means we might see a Virtus Pro Fnatic rematch after the ESL Dubai. What makes you think that Fnatic will come out on top after the performance, or Virtus Pro really just steamrolled them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the key factors that's different, obviously, will be a best of 5. We've never seen a best of 5 between Virtus Pro and Fnatic. We've seen many best of 3s, actually. They've gone back and forth. Now, Fnatic used to pretty much own that record in the past, okay? They had a couple of times they lost, but in general, they were always winning the ones that mattered, as we saw at the semi-final of the major. Okay, VP had that close to 1. Fnatic just stole it out from under them. So it's true, the one in Dubai was very dominant. Like, there's very few teams in history. I think that might be like the 3rd time ever Fnatic have really been beaten up in a best of 3. That's how good this team is. And VP obviously is one of the few teams, along with Envious to a degree, but Envious haven't shown us yet, who are capable of maybe pouring it on Fnatic. So I do think it's a very dangerous matchup for Fnatic if that happens. Obviously, Envious might do them a favor and just take care of VP for them, but I think with it being a best of 5, the key thing Fnatic have going for them is they're the only team I know of where they don't have any map they dislike or any map that they can't play against even top-level opposition. So VP, okay, they have a pretty wide map pool at the moment, but there's still 1 or 2 that they prefer. They usually always ban Dust 2, for example. Very strong map for Fnatic at the moment. So I'm feeling as though if Fnatic pick ban correctly, that can even up any form disparity there, and then it'll come down to stuff like who wins the clutch rounds, who's really good under pressure. And okay, VP, when they're in form, are incredible at that. Everyone wins clutches, but Fnatic historically, I mean, that's why we call them like the miraculous team in this era. They've almost taken over. Okay, so there was the NiP Magic Rich, we've got the Fnatic Miracles now. So we're in the miracles age.
Yeah, but it's absolutely true. I mean, what Duncan's alluding to there is Fnatic's performances at ESL One Cologne. Like, everybody came up after the Virtus Pro Fnatic game and said that was the final. Ultimately, that was like as good a level as you were going to see, and they pulled out miracles to win that one. I mean, you saw on Virtus Pro's face, they were like, "How have we lost this? Like, we've played at an optimal level, and Fnatic pulled things out of the bag that only Fnatic can do." You know, we talked about NiP magic back in the day. This wasn't magic. This wasn't just having that will to win, that tenacity. This was unthinkable Counter-Strike, stuff you just do not see. Then they go into a final against Envious. Envious are 15-10 up on Dust 2. That's done. It's all she wrote. And I think on the CT side as well. So Fnatic have to win 5 T rounds on Dust 2 in this current meta just to get it to overtime. They do it after a timeout, which is another thing to be mindful of. Fnatic call timeouts like no one else in the business right now. They do it, and then they beat them 4-0 in overtime. And they crushed Envious' spirit, which was why there was such an emotional outpouring from particularly Kenny S, but from the team in general at the end. This is a team that is literally, I can't express this enough. We've been saying for ages, okay, Fnatic can't do it again. Fnatic can't win this major. They can't, but they can, and they do. And that's why they're such a great team, and you can never count them out of anything. I
even think as well, that's going to have a psychological effect on opponents, which is, okay, it's true, as we saw in Dubai, if VP's really rolling, they don't have to be afraid of that, okay? They can, okay, we can beat them anyway. We can beat them before they can get to that. But you're always worried when you're playing Fnatic, in a best of 3 even, like you saw in the major in the semi-final. If we let them hang around too long, we give them too many chances, they're going to do something magical. We know how strong they are mentally, so that's why in a best of 5, I also think there's that factor. Like, Fnatic's one of the only teams I can even think of that could go down 0-2 against VP and maybe still even win the series. Like, they're not going to be, they're going to reset map to map, timeout to timeout, half to half, and so it's so hard to beat them. You know, you've really got to play some of the best CS ever to beat them.
And on top of that,
they never give you the win, you know.
Yeah, and on top of that, one thing that people, they don't really talk about this so much because we think about them as a god tier team and they're all super skilled individuals. But the reality about Fnatic is when they come into a tournament, it's not uncommon to see one player being dead weight. You know, so for example in DreamHack Valencia, you know, the Face It finals, we saw JW, you know, having some really bad series. Yet that, you know, they managed to drag themselves kicking and screaming, and of course they made it to the semi-finals where they were knocked out by Cloud9. Then you see, you know, at the previous event, I think at the major, I think Crims wasn't playing particularly well. But Flusher just steps up and is like top fragging, which again, this is a player that kind of plays in that lurker role, and now he was just dropping bombs. So. And even getting entry frags on various maps, you know, like just, this is what I mean. When they're a great unit, when one person's flagging, other teams might turn to their teammates and be like, pick it up, mate, this is ridiculous. Fnatic don't have those internal issues. They just seem to be able to like, right, okay, I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming, you know, over this finish line. So when one person's underperforming, they generally seem to have enough in their team to sort of make up for that, to compensate for that. And that's what makes them, again, just such a great team. Really.
All right. Well, let's jump to the present. Right now for Fnatic, for us to even have that discussion of Fnatic possibly versus Virtus Pro, they have to go through NiP. Yep. Thorin, you've been extremely critical of NiP. Could you kind of just summarize why you think they are in the state they are now?
Yeah, basically what happened is it is actually history's momentum and weight that's prevented them from having success now, because since the 4-man core that they had, everyone except Dalu basically, have been part of these, even in modern times, very, very good teams that have always been elite level. They've kind of been clinging on to that past that, like, okay, that's the one thing we don't ever have to change is those 4 players. And they just haven't been mentally open to the idea of bringing in new players. And so people who they could have had in the meantime, people like Schneider, he's now off in Dignitas, helping make them better. Dennis has joined Kingwin, they're getting very good. So obviously the original ones they could have gotten were Olaf M and Crims, and they let them go to Fnatic and make the new dynasty over there. So they've been so reticent to ever change players, and yet as a team, they're not really the sort of team who are extremely tactically adept. Therefore, what changes to make you better when you fall off at that point in time? They used to be so reliant on Get Right being the best player, then Forrest being an extremely good player, and then some of the others being very good at their roles. At the moment, you'd be very hard-pressed to look at any NiP player, even Get Right, and go, they're the best at their role. I think even as a lurker, there's players who people think of as better now. Like Snacks, for example, he's a fantastic MVP level player. So there's the problem. They're a very individualistic team, but individually they're not the best anymore. Tactically, they were never super sound anyway. They had a very loose style to emphasize that individual approach. And obviously, tactically, other teams have come along and superseded them and evolved the meta game. And they're not even a team we saw when Natu was the coach. Even when he left, he kind of said, like, okay, they weren't so open to changing some of these things. They were kind of stuck in the ways that that this is the paradigm of how we're going to play. So what's the one thing that can change a team like that? It's to make roster changes, and that's the one thing they wouldn't do. And so I think in many ways, you shouldn't feel too sorry for them. They've had incredible careers. Even in this era, they've had many top fours still. They basically, they're where they should be right now. This is exactly where they should be based on all the factors. We've seen so many tournaments. It's not like it's one bad tournament and we're exaggerating it, you know. This has been a gradual downward swing to the point where now, as I kind of referenced before, in the last something like 5 or 6 months, they've only won something like 2 best-of-3s that were of any note whatsoever. Well, look at the other teams here, and they have a resume of top wins, you know.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, I mean, Duncan will understand this as well. Sometimes teams collectively, the individual parts maybe don't make sense, but the sum of those parts can be greater than the sort of what the constituent parts would make you think it's going to be. So back in the Fiflaren era, you know, yes, he was bottom fragging quite regularly. He was statistically their poorest player, but what he did was he did a lot of support roles. He used to basically enable those other 4 to go out and be stars, because literally this is how a talk would go between NiP. They would be like, okay, Get Right wants to play here, Forest wants to play here, Firebait's going to play here, and I'm the team leader, so I'm definitely going to play here. Fiflaren, this is what's left. And he'd go, yep, no problem. No problem. And they could just have the stronger 4 players playing to their strengths, and Fiflaren was the make weight. Now, there was a big push to get Fiflaren out of that team for the longest period of time. There was a lot of people being, you know, I would say rightly critical of his statistical performances, but as we all know, stats don't tell the whole story. And then after Fiflaren sort of went, and I know they were having a bit of a wobble before, but they did win ESL 1 Cologne with him there, and that was a huge victory for them. You know, but after Fiflaren went, they could never really replace that. They could never really get the balance right, and they were always kind of struggling to do it. Now, I thought they'd done it when they brought in Makalela, but for whatever reason, they deemed his personality to not be a good cultural fit, and then they brought in Arlu, who was more in line with that culture. And when he first joined, brilliant. He was statistically the strongest player. But all of a sudden, those other 4 people were having to fit around him, because they wanted to put him in the place. And I think that made a big, big difference. That combined with the fact that when you've won for so long, you really start to think, how are we losing? Why are we losing? And it preys on your mind. So the sort of psychological factor with what they were doing with the roster changes, I just think it completely upset their rhythm. But for me, you know, I think a lot of people, if you're a NiP fan, I think it's be careful what you wish for, because there was a lot of people wanting to push Fiflaren out, and I don't think they've ever looked the same team since he left.
All right, well, they're going up against what is arguably the best team in the world right now, Fnatic. Let's actually take a closer look at Fnatic and see what NiP's going up against.
Being the team to beat is always harder to play, I guess, because people have looked into your game way more than everyone else. But at the same time, that's maybe also an advantage for us, because we can change up our game and they will not expect it as much.
I'd say we're so good because like we have a good team synergy. We have played together for over a year now, and we mesh well together. Like we almost never have any problems with each other. If we have, we can solve them really easily. So I guess we just work together really well.
Sure, NiP's 87-0 run is like, it's legendary stuff, you know, but I still think that what we have achieved is in a much more competitive era, I guess. So not to take anything away from them, but I think we currently hold the #1 and they have the #2, but what they did is legendary as well. Our plans for the future is, at the moment, of course, to stay together. I think we all pretty much have agreed on staying together for at least another year now. So yeah, we're staying together. The next big goal is probably the major. First things first though, so Gfinity first, then we're aiming for #1 at PGL as well, and then hardcore packing for the major.
Very strong looking team. Thorin, why don't you go ahead and just talk to us about the players to watch on Fnatic and what kind of style we could expect to see from them today?
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you're talking about players to watch, we've got to start obviously with olofmeister, still considered consensus the best player in the world, because even when you talk about these other people, Kenny S, Snacks, it's one tournament you're usually really referring to. olofmeister is the only player where, yeah, he has his ups and downs. Sometimes he needs help from the others, but he's the one line that runs through the Fnatic lineups, and every time they win a big tournament, he's going to be one of the 2 or 3 players who really was like the big factor to get them to that win. Just absolutely absolutely an all-round talent, can do everything in the game, and more importantly, he's a big game performer. I mean, I think we saw that actually when they beat NiP at Face It in that group stage match to get into the semi-finals, and he pretty much hard carried on Train with 39 kills. So then you go over to, let's talk about a guy we just saw in the interview there, JW, kind of like the wild card player. Just a really, really dangerous player. He's a player where it's weird because in some sense I almost don't feel like he's a star player because he won't consistently put up kills and get them in the same position in the game, but he gets impact kills. They're the kind of kills that change around or just change an opponent's mentality. I can't go to that position again, or he's going to be peeking me here, so we go a bit slower and that helps the other guys over-rotate. Then you look at, I mean, a guy who very recently really pulled them out of the fire a couple of times, including at that Majors Flusher. This guy's supposed to be the 4th best player in the team. Meanwhile, he's a guy where he used to be the best player in Fnatic in their old lineup, and he kind of like, it's almost like he bides his time, he waits. When other people are struggling, he just asserts himself, he turns it on as it was, turns on that magic rich, and then lastly, we'll pick Crims.
Don't bring me into this.
You're involved now, mate. We'll bring Crims into it finally. This is just the stable guy. So if you're going to have a JW, a really erratic player who's all over the place, even he doesn't know what he's going to do, then you need a stable base of the team to make up for that and to allow him, to facilitate him being crazy by you playing the smart way all the time. So if you ever are in a 4v5, okay, now we can still potentially win from that. And Crims is the guy who's going to do that for you because he's always going to be in the right place with the right gun, with the right technique, following up on people, getting the right trade kill when you can. And just that consistency that he puts in the 1 or 2 kills each round allows an Olaf M or of a JW performance to win the game for you.
All right. Well, they're going up against NiP. Let's go ahead and take a look at that team and see what they're bringing to the table.
I definitely believe we're going to win this one. I have no doubt in my mind that we will 3-0 Fnatic and then go 3-0 against Virtus Pro in the final. Get Red is the best player in the world. Yes, everything a great CS player needs to have.
He's got great hair, you know. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
We have got much closer to each other as friends.
Yeah, we're getting really close.
I think the biggest change we have now is that everyone can do whatever they want if they feel like it. There's no restrictions, and I think that really held us back in Cologne.
I don't really listen to Thorn that much.
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, we're
Okay, we're kind of bad. We were bad, but we're gonna win this one. So.
We're probably the worst team in history of CS. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Never done anything great.
Maybe we should get him as coach.
Maybe.
We feel confident going in against Fnatic. They're our Swedish rivals and they're the best team in the world right now. When we had our 87-0 streak, we had tons of pressure, so we know exactly what they're going through. It can be tough playing sometimes when you have that pressure, and if we get a good start and maybe we tilt them, maybe that can be in our favor.
All right, so they don't seem like a team that's ready to go down without a fight. And what I'm curious is, how are they going to approach Fnatic?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know how they're necessarily going to approach it. I guess like it's going to be much what we've seen the last few tournaments they've attended, which is they got to play with that YOLO style, dare I say it. You know, they're going to basically try and play that individualistic style of play that Duncan highlighted, but hopefully they're going to be able to take those 1v1 duels. It's going to be really hard for them to do that, I think, in terms of just individual talent. But let us not forget that when these players are on song, they're still a force to be reckoned with. They're still placing, you know, in semi-finals. They're still getting top 4 finishes. They're absolutely not an opponent you can take lightly. Just looking at the team there, I'll talk a little bit about, obviously, you've got Exist, the in-game leader. Bit of a perplexing character. I think when he's freed up and he's not actually doing the in-game leading role, I think he's a really, really good player. He's definitely capable of fragging. But his map vetoes, we've talked about it historically, they haven't been good. I think some of his tactics at times, they do seem to be a little bit old school, I guess would be the nice way of putting it. They don't really seem to have evolved too much with the current meta. They definitely want to keep that distinct NiP identity, and that's great when it works, but it's been a problem for a while now. So I almost question the stubbornness, but he's still one of the greats. He's still, that's no doubt about it. His trophy room speaks for itself. Then you've got Forest, probably the now I would say that the second best Counter-Strike player of all time, is absolutely amazing in 1.6. Just huge pedigree. Obviously, it's always a toss-up between him and Neo in Virtus Pro, but this is a guy who lately was in poor form, but now he's starting to claw it back. In the middle, you had Get Right. Get Right is the star. He's the jewel in the crown of this particular team. He's one of the best players in the world still. Just sort of pioneered that kind of what we call the lurking role without anyone really thinking about it. Arlu is somebody that there's lots of question marks about where his future lies. Will he continue playing? He's been AWPing for them, and he's such a kind of hit and miss player in the sense that when he's on point, he'll win the hard rounds for them. You'll see him do these ridiculous like 1v3 clutches. He's got no chance of winning, but then he might whiff the odd basic shot, you know, defensively. A very perplexing player, but he was at one point statistically the strongest player in the team when he first joined. That seems to have petered out a little bit. And then this is the one player who I think is really playing for his future here. And I don't want to put any pressure on him. I go back with him a long, long time. I've known him back in the Source days, but it's Freiburg. Now, Freiburg was the entry fragger extraordinaire. Back when NiP were winning tournaments, everyone was saying, well, they're going to get carried by Forest and Get Right. Well, it was Freiburg that was winning MVPs at like DreamHack Valencia and stuff like that. His performances were ridiculous. We've all seen the clips of Anders screaming his head off. We know what he's capable of when he's on point, but that hasn't happened for a long, long time. And it's time now, I think, with all the players probably getting cast at a, you know, 4 corners of the earth. There's only 4 corners, isn't there? You can't have 5 corners. But anyway, he needs to sort of really step up his game because he needs to land into a good team. And I think that's why he's going to be really wanting to put on a show at this event. So that's what they're going to do. Whether they can do it individually against Fnatic, especially with his Veto, which I'll lob over to Duncan now to discuss, I don't really know. Yeah, let's take a look at the map vetoes. You can see them at the bottom. Duncan, talk us through the vetoes. You've talked before about how NiP doesn't really have a map that they're dominant on.
But these make a lot of sense if you look at it. Remember, we do a veto each first, a pick each, a veto again, then we have the decider. So the first veto for NiP is an obvious one because Overpass is the map they've been vetoing all the time recently. Fnatic, it's not like it's Fnatic's strongest map, it's not even close, but actually it's one that Fnatic have kind of shown some strength on to make NiP worried. So obvious veto for NiP there. Fnatic and veto Cash, because that's a map where actually historically you think of Fnatic on Cash, you think, wow, what a great team, right? Over the last few months, statistically their worst map. Many losses, and if you look at the few wins they had, those are just hard carry All-of-M performances. You don't want to rely just on your star player to win you the maps. So, okay, you come into the picks now. Now, NiP picking Dust 2 is not a surprise. Even though statistically only their 3rd best map, I said it's one of their stronger maps, and most recently it's in vogue for them. It's their flavor, it's the pick that they want. Recently they picked it against Envious and TSM, and these are 2 of the best teams in the world on that map, and they beat them on it. So as a result, I feel like they feel very confident on Dust 2. I think that's where they think they can get a win, but that leaves open, because they banned Overpass, that leaves open Cobblestone. And Cobblestone is a map where for Fnatic, it's actually at the moment, in the last sort of 3 or 4 months, statistically their best map. This is the map where they really are nearly unbeatable on this map. You have to be extremely good to do so. So that's going to be heavily weighted over to the Fnatic side then, and an obvious pick for them at this point in the tournament. Then you go to the next... oh, actually, these are just the next picks. Yeah, obviously, you only get one set of bans. Okay, so then NiP has picked Mirage. Now, this is where it gets very questionable for NiP, because actually, of their last 11 offline games they've played in it, they've only won 4. So this is a map that they've shown real difficulty on, but it's because you look at the maps that are left. This is where it's interesting. I would have actually said NiP, just in the order of things, should have picked Inferno. It wouldn't have mattered anyway, because Fnatic was always going to pick Inferno next themselves, because Fnatic is the map that they built the Dynasty on, and it still remains a strong map. Even though they don't play it so often now, it's kind of the pocket pick. The only reason they don't play it is because the teams they're playing are so good at it. And so the last map, if we get to map 5, by process of elimination, will be Train. Now, neither team loves Train. It's definitely not a map that NiP are like, yeah, let's get onto that map. They've got a losing record on it.
They had a 16-14 as well, didn't
yeah,
they?
that was the one that...
Stockholm, wasn't it?
A DreamHack Stockholm?
Not Stockholm, sorry. DreamHack Summer, sorry.
Yeah, they played in the semi-final of DreamHack Summer in the second map, and it was a 16-14 thriller. It was also a game where, as I mentioned before, I referred to it, the Olaf Meister game at DreamHack Valencia, where he had 39 kills and he really carried Fnatic through a map on train there that they probably should have lost, but they managed to win it. So if it could get to a map 5, in that kind of a world, yes, it could be extremely exciting. That would be the most primed battleground for, hey, maybe this could be a win for them. The biggest problem is, I said, the best chance statistically for NiP to win is Dust 2, the first pick. The big issue there is Fnatic's incredible at Dust 2 at the moment. So I feel like for NiP, they were kind of painted into a corner. There was nowhere to go here. They don't have the biggest map pool. Fnatic has the biggest map pool. So it's going to be very difficult for NiP. But as a result, we're setting the stage here. If they can get 1 map, 2 maps, they've already accomplished something incredible.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I think that does it for us here. We are getting ready to go into the first matchup of the Gfinity Champion of Champions here for Counter-Strike Go. It is going to be Martin getting the players on stage and putting them into position. Take it away.
Thanks very much, fellas. Excellent summary. You must be absolutely buzzing for what's about to happen. This is your first best-of-5 semi-final. Let's waste no more time. Let's get the first team out here, widely regarded as the very best in the world. Please welcome to the stage, Fnatic! Good luck, guys. Just like to head into your booth and get yourselves ready. Thanks very much. There you go. Fnatic, everybody. Now, their opponents, and again, their dynasty has been spoken about, their heritage has been spoken about. There's probably no bigger team in the world. Please welcome to the stage, Ninjas in Pajamas. Thank you, guys, if you want to head into your booth and get yourselves ready. Good luck, good luck, good luck. So, there are your 2 teams. It's the first best-of-5 semi-final. Best-of-5 is a format you love, we listen. Some don't, but we do. Anyway, time to hand over to your casters for this match. It's Kai, Knight and Chewy. Take it away, lads.
Cheers, Martin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to EGX. It's Gfinity's Champion of Champions. We've got 3 champions and Ninjas in Pajamas here to compete for $100,000.
Yes, indeed, a lot of money on the line. And this is the thing, you know, we've been talking about the format already with the analysis desk over there, but this best-of-5 final, there's 20K minimum on the line here. As soon as you win this, you're guaranteed at least $30,000, and if you take the whole event, as we know, $50,000, and just for playing this single match, they've guaranteed 10K in the bank. So not bad pocket money for a weekend of Counter-Strike action, in my opinion. But yeah, let's talk about predictions. We might as well start off with a strong question. Kana, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think is going to take the series?
I think Fnatic will take the series. Seeing that the first map's going to be D-Dust 2, how good Ninjas in Pajamas have been on Dust 2 recently, I'm going to put my neck on the line and just give them Dust 2. But as far as the next 2 maps or 3 maps are going to be concerned in Cobblestone, Mirage and Inferno, I'm afraid I can only see 1 winner on all those 3 maps, and that winner's Fnatic, and I think it will end 3 maps to 1.
I completely agree. We were talking about it before we came on camera, you know, and just looking at that veto process and looking at, okay, which maps do we actually respectively think that NiP could take here? And of course, I know it's online and it was only a best of 1, but Fnatic played NiP just this week on Dust 2, and it was a 14-1 half, and then it went to 14-14, and NiP made that comeback. So, you know, these teams have got history on this map as well, all throughout the, you know, all throughout Counter-Strike. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this first map going. Maybe NiP can come in hot. And actually, we arrived obviously quite early this morning, and they were one of the first teams to arrive. They were here really early setting up, so they should be relatively warmed up. So hopefully they can come in strong to that. But I agree, 3-1 scoreline, NiP to take the first map.
Yeah, as well, you mentioned it earlier on. Obviously, Ninjas in Pajamas actually just about lost early on in the week. 16-14, I believe the final score was, to Fnatic. But again, it was in the ESL, ESEA Pro League. It was an online game.
Exactly.
It was a BO1.
Exactly.
What can we really withdraw from that? But honestly, simply because Ninjas in Pajamas beat TSM in Dubai on Dust 2, and we've seen them beat Cloud9 recently on Dust 2 as well. I'm going to give them that map just because I like the team. I like Ninjas in Pajamas, but overall, we've got to be realistic, and Fnatic is just in amazing form at the moment.
It's what Thorin said. He said, it doesn't matter what team you are, it is incredibly difficult to win a best-of-5 3-0, no matter, and especially here when we've got 4 top teams. Yes, okay, there is a lot of debate, shall I say, for lack of a better word, around NiP at the second. Obviously, there's rumours which we can go into discussion about as well. But it's very difficult, even for the likes of a roster like Fnatic, who are the best team in the world in a lot of people's opinion, to take a series like this 3-0. So, yeah, again, it's not us necessarily gifting a map to NiP for that 3-1 scoreline. I genuinely think they do stand a very good shot of taking this first map, but looking at the veto process afterwards, it wouldn't surprise me if then Fnatic started to get that the ball rolling then.
Yeah, as well. No surprise, really, that Ninjas in Pyjamas, or rather Fnatic, decided to veto cash out, because Ninjas in Pyjamas actually beat them early on this week on that map, 16-13. But one thing we need to bear in mind is the fact that Fnatic had a stand-in. And another thing that a lot of people often forget about when they jump to conclusions based on these online results is that prior to massive tournaments like this, a lot of teams keep their cards close to their chest.
Yes,
they don't want to give anything up online because they know that their opponents can scout them. And Fnatic, they're a lot more drilled than Ninjas in Pyjamas at the moment, and I think we could see a few surprises from them, and I'm really looking forward to it. We look at both these lineups on paper. Ninjas in Pyjamas, so much experience amongst them, but I'm afraid they were talking about the NiP dynasty. Well, it's no longer existent, and Fnatic are the team of the moment.
Yeah, so again, you know, you're talking about that experienced NiP roster. Let's have a look at the rosters. I know the analyst desk have gone through them very quickly, but for you, Knight, I'm going to ask you one player for each team. I know that's an incredibly difficult question, but for anybody who may be new to Counter-Strike, who wants to keep an eye out for a certain player, maybe individually on each team, who do you think they should be watching out for here?
Well, I think it's a no-brainer for the Fnatic side. It's definitely Olofmeister. In my opinion, he's probably the best Counter-Strike player at the moment, at least post Kenny S's sort of period in time where he was probably the best player in the world. This man, he's fantastic. He's extremely versatile. He can AWP. A lot of the time, he is actually Fnatic's second AWPer behind JW. He can rifle brilliantly as well. So I think he's definitely going to be a man to watch out for on this Fnatic side. But at the end of the day, you look at this Fnatic side, and individually, they're all incredibly skilled. Yes. Even Pronax, how many times? A lot of people talk about the in-game leader always being the sort of player that's lagging behind because he's so focused on being the in-game leader. But that's not actually the case most of the time for Pronax. How many times, be it at major events or massive events like this, where he's actually top of the scoreboard, leading his team, but fragging left, right, and center. As for Ninjas in Pyjamas, I think we have to highlight Get Right and Forest. Yeah. Forest really stepped it up for me in Dubai. He started buying the AWP more, NiP started playing with a more fluid double AWP setup, and Forest, for me, at times, was better than Alu with the AWP, who's actually Ninjas in Pyjamas' main AWPer. Yeah. So definitely keep an eye out for Forest once he picks up the AWP, and in general, Get Right, king of the spray, along with Freiburg. But Get Right, phenomenal player. Keep an eye out on him.
Most certainly so. I mean, again, it's a tricky one to pick out individual players because any of these 10 players on the server can do massive damage. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are ready to go into the 9th round. Knight, let's talk about, you know, each side on Dust 2 so we can go in depth now and chat about this map. Talking about, you know, statistics, you get a lot of discussion, especially with the recent patch that's come in from Valve, you know, nerfing that M4 on that CT side. In terms of where you think the meta is now on Dust 2, is it a T-sided map? Is it a CT-sided map? What do you think we're going to see?
Well, historically, there's no doubt about the fact that it was really seen back in 1.6 and CS Source was more of a terrorist-sided map. We went into CSGO. A lot of people used to call CSGO a CT-sided game, and I'd say Dust 2 sort of, you'd expect it to finish 9-6 to either of the sides. Yeah. But based off of recent tournaments, especially DreamHack Stockholm, what we're hearing from the DreamHack London, what we're hearing from the pro players is that after the recent M4A1S nerf, the AK is reigning supreme even more and is getting somewhat closer to CS Source, where the AK-47, being a cheaper weapon, has actually made the game slightly more T-sided. Yeah. So I think CS is changing a lot with the recent patches. Pronax actually had an interview on Fnatic's site recently where he said that in his opinion it's these types of changes that keep the game alive. So honestly speaking, I still think it'll most likely finish 10-5 or 9-6 to either of these two sides, but let's see how they all adapt to the meta, and we are going to go in game and begin. It's going to be straight out of long. Alu gets the first frag for the Ninjas as they stampede straight out of long. Exist with a headshot as well as Pronax returns a frag towards Freiburg. Olaf just about nails Forest in the head, and Chewy, NiP are marching towards this A bomb site.
They're confident, feeling good so far, even with that even trade situation. We've got one player in Olaf Meister now tagged low. Get right, trying to find another player, but he will not find him. Alu picks up, I believe that's his second frag of the round. The bomb will be planted, and Flusher, we know what damage he can do on a good day. He will not be able to do anything here. Ninjas in pajamas, confident up long, will get the bomb down and secure the first pistol round in this long best of 5.
Yeah, Ninjas in Pajamas heard it all up together. They said together as a team, together as a unit, we stand more of a chance of being able to isolate the single or the double long players, and that's exactly what happened. And now Alu, he's going to pick up the scout. Fnatic, of course, after losing the pistol, they'll buy up armor and pistols. It's going to be Pronax with the scout. And they're just basically sniffing around this B bomb site at the moment, Chewy, trying to get a little bit of information. And NiP here, they'll be looking to take this slow, keep their distance, because we all know how strong the pistols can be up close and personal.
Get right with that P90 in hand. We all know how much he loves to use that SMG. Starting off in fine fragging form there. First kill onto JW. Pronax is actually going to be able to bait that player out in Forest. Crims with a deagle, I believe that was. Picking up the return kill here. It's Flusher on top of the A-bomb site, but Get right, here he comes. Entry fragging into that A-bomb site. And I don't blame this decision here from Fnatic. They've obviously got a bit of utility in hand, just upgraded pistols really. And that scout in the hands of Pronax, who is low. So with Ninjas in Pajamas in full control of the A-bomb site, they should be able to easily get this second round on the board here. And this is the thing, this is what, for me, I find is really important for NiP, is because we know that they could be quite famous at losing their anti-eco rounds after winning that pistol, especially against teams like Envious. I know they're not facing up against them here, but that's something that NiP, I believe, have needed to work on recently.
Well, at the end of the day, at this level of Counter-Strike, you just can't afford to be complacent. You can't afford to switch off, especially when you are up against probably the world's best team right now in Fnatic. Pronax is going to drop Get right, so that's the P90 lost, and he will be the only Fnatic player to survive. So he's going to keep that scout. The rest of Fnatic will most likely just buy up P250s, because they want to hold on to as much cash as possible going into this the next fourth round, because it will be the first gun round of the game.
Forest just deciding to go for a deagle there. You've got to wonder if they could be saving up for that AWP, and that's something we'll talk about a bit more in the future, because that double AWP setup on the CT side from NiP is something to most certainly watch out for. But Fnatic have completely neglected long here. Look at the setup coming in from them. Heavy presence over towards mid. You can see Pronax here up on short, checking top mid. And NiP have got a really great read on that. Players moving their way through long now. They should be able to get the bomb down, and it is that 1-for-3 trade.
Yep, bomb going to go down on the A-bomb site, and Olaf Meister and Pronax, again, most likely just going to be looking for some exit frags, but it's so difficult when you've got 4 ninjas still left standing. A bit of team attack coming in there from the NiP player in lower tunnels. Olaf gets a frag. His position has been now learnt by these players, and the question is, are they going to try and hunt him down? Doesn't seem like they're going to really bother. Exist, all eyes on double doors. Should be able to get the frag, sprays him down. And now Pronax, let's see if he can pick up an AK and get away with it. But no, Get Right's not going to allow him to do so. And there we have it. 3-0, looking good from the Ninjas. Yeah, Exist still yet to die in this game. And that was just a really important little frag there from Get Right. He was very low, and obviously gifting an AK-47 to a CT player, meaning that they will not have to rebuy anything, is very important. And we can see how much money has been invested by Fnatic in this fourth round now. Play is very low. I'm not too sure what's gone on there, because it looks like Flusher has departed at the second. Oh, actually, he got killed from Alu. I apologize. I thought something had happened weirdly there, but Freiburg pushing out aggressively through the smoke there. Nice catching the Fnatic players off guard, and it's a 1-for-2 trade. Yeah, this is lovely Counter-Strike coming in from NiP, but even better stuff from Crims as he demolishes Exist, but he cannot make it a double. Pronax, the Fnatic in-game leader, last man standing, as NiP look to stampede towards their fourth round of this map so far. We've got Get Right with the AK, Alu and Forest still nice and healthy with the AWP. Bomb will go down on B, and this is going to be a very difficult retake for Pronax all by himself.
Yeah, and that's the thing, again, it's a really difficult thing. You know, it was way quicker than I could even spot it at this early hour of the morning. Flusha being killed so quickly through those double doors by Alu. And talking about Alu, who he will fall to Pronax, but with not too much time left on the clock, getting sprayed down through the door there by GetRight, I do believe. Very low indeed. Just trying to keep GetRight on this site as long as possible. GetRight will peek out and actually does pick up the kill, feeling confident indeed. Forest salvaging the AWP. And that's interesting there. Did you just spot that? GetRight swapped out his AK right at the end to pick up another AWP so that NiP can continue the double AWP setup on this T side.
Yeah, what was good in that last round was as soon as Flusha got killed at mid, they knew that normally Fnatic, they put one person alone on B, they have one person in mid, and then most of the time they rotate that mid player towards the back of the B bomb site and then hold it with 2 players on the B bomb site. As soon as they knew that Flusha was killed, they knew Crims would be all by himself on the B bomb site, so they upped the tempo, pushed straight through upper tunnels, and eventually Crims just found himself outnumbered, and Ninjas in Pyjamas, they brute forced the bomb plant.
Fnatic now back onto those measly little pistols after losing round number 4, where they were able to invest for the first time. Let's see what damage they can do. NiP have got to be very careful here. Again, we talked about their anti-eco state and how at times it can be a little bit inconsistent. So with all of the utility and equipment that they've got in hand, they've got to do well. Forrest with the Deagle onto Olofmeister there to start things off. He's picking up another frag in this round, now switching over to his AWP. Crims is going to return though, gets the revenge frag, but I don't think it will be enough. All left up to JW here. They know exactly where he is. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, so far so good. Flawless start on Dust 2.
Yeah, solid stuff. Took things nice and slow in order to win the round. Checked every corner. Very, very well played from Forest. Push straight out of double doors. Get the frag onto the Fnatic player. And then get a double with the AWP. But here we go. Forest, the man open through double doors. GetRight. Seems like he wants to toy with Long, where Fnatic initially put 3 players, but that smoke and the few flashes coming over has actually forced JW back to playing from the corner. Olaf is going to be the secondary AWP, which we mentioned early on. He's going to find himself in a firefight with one of these NiP players, who was actually the Finn in Alu. But Alu's going to obliterate him through the doors, straight into the face of the Fnatic player. But JW wasted no time to return a frag. He knows someone's going to be hiding in pit, and he should probably fall back now. Doesn't want to lose this or play this more passive.
Yeah, Freiberg actually was the player who jumped down into pit, and as he was jumping down there, JW also peeked out again from long to try and get some information through the side of the smoke, and got heavily tagged down to 38 points of health. So he's got to be careful. Looks like it could be a split, but Fnatic with a double man set up onto short there. They read that really well, and they stopped Exist in his tracks. And NiP have got to reset. They've got to back off here, and Fnatic are looking very good to take this round so far, in my opinion.
Yeah, NiP more than aware that 2 players were spotted on short. So the question at hand now for NiP is, what are they going to try and do to counter this? Freiberg, all eyes on mid. He spotted nothing, but he will just about manage to frag Flusha. And Forest with the AWP as well. Pronax somehow sprays Freiberg down onto short, and it's a 2 versus 2. It's anyone's round, but both NiP players pretty spread out here.
That grenade actually was the key there to Fnatic knowing that this is probably going to be a B push. We can see that it's actually Crims with the AWP in CT spawn. There's only 8 seconds left on the clock, so they've got to be careful about this one. Forest has swapped out the AWP for the AK-47, and Alu heavily tagged down with that AWP in hand. Forest is going to take down Crims though. Pronax will respond, and we're now into a 1v1 situation. Pronax and Forest both biding their time. One of them should get the triple here, but I love the way that Forest is playing this, backing right off. I don't believe Pronax has the information about where that player could be. Now he does. He's looking over to one. He's seen Forest peek out very close, but time is ticking here. He's got the smoke. He can cover himself off here. Let's see if he can defuse.
He's holding, he's going for it, and you said Forest was in a good position, but he's just about going to win it. Pronax with the defuse. Great communication from Fnatic as well. It was one of his teammates, must have been on TeamSpeak, said to him, look mate, you're going to need a smoke. Forest has gone towards long, because they knew Forest was at long because of where Forest got the kill onto Pronax's right-hand man earlier on in that round. Yeah. So he said to him, mate, there's a smoke in CT spawn. Go down, collect it, use it. And that smoke was essentially what won them the round.
Alu entry fragging though, that's Pronax down. JW with a max 7 in hand will return the favor, and even better for him here, he manages to pick up that AWP, so that's a really nice trade for him in that situation over towards long. Freiberg has been tagged, trying to enter things up once again from short. onto that A-bomb site, but finds no success here. So bit of action at the start of round number 7, now quietening off. Once again, Ninjas in Pyjamas just looking for information, seeing what they can find. And Crims, meanwhile, on this B-bomb site, down very low, 18 HP to his name.
Yeah, Flusher in an interesting position, just behind the sand barrels. NiP just trying to see whether they can find the right key to unlock this Fnatic defense. They've got still plenty of firepower thanks to winning 5 rounds in a row, but it does seem like they've still got their hearts set on A. They've got a player just outside of Long as well, so the split could very well be coming in. Forest is going to play that entry fragger role, but Exist will assassinate Flusher as he hits the floor on the A-bomb site, and JW with a chance to go massive tried to go for the jump in no-scope, but not today, JW. Bomb's going to go down on A.
Too early for that, I'm afraid, JW. Maybe a bit later in the series, we'll see. Olofmeister does get the Kobe, though, on to Freiburg, now giving that man advantage in favour of Fnatic. They're all going to peek out one by one, and even though Get Right was able to get one player, the trade frag came in. Olofmeister with another frag in this round. That's the double. And now it's all left up to Exist. This in-game leader for NiP is going to find one. That's Olofmeister down, and he must have heard JW there. He's coming up A-ramp very, very quickly indeed. Exist sprays down, does get the clutch, and that is round number 6 for NiP. And what's going to interest me here, yes, the economy for Fnatic. That is exactly what they did not need.
Well, that's a CT side in CSGO for you. Especially after they lost so many consecutive rounds. They finally reset their round loss bonus by winning a round, and they couldn't make it 2 in a row. And now they find themselves broke again. And that's how Lord Gaben punishes you in this kind of scenario. Exist, leading the charge, straight out of Long, sprays down 2 unarmored opponents. And in a blink of an eye, it's suddenly very difficult to see Fnatic really doing much with only these pistols.
Alu with another frag. He's been pretty on form with his AWP so far, I do have to say. It's good to see him doing so. And again, they're going for that double AWP setup on this T side. We usually see them do it on the CT. So, I mean, what do you think of that kind of? I mean, it's working so far, so who are we to judge it negatively? But it's an interesting choice. You don't see it every day.
Fnatic, money's still very, very tight. They had the option to potentially force it up there. We are going to see a bit of a force. Olaf going for armor and a helmet, Flusher for just armor, JW opting for the diffuse kit, and well, Pronax going for the odd nade or two, but NiP, just look at this, it's beautiful to watch. Get Right just stampeding straight through double doors. He's pulled back now though, and they're almost playing with such fluidity without a care in the world. Richard was calling it a YOLO style of play, but it genuinely is like watching Golden Over 3 matchmaking.
Yeah, it is. In the best Golden Over 3s you'll ever see in your life. But yes, look at Pronax here. He's actually been able to push right through Long and got so much information. Not only that, Crims has actually started things off here. First frag of the round. Exist will respond, although he has been knocked very low indeed. Let's see if Flusher can try and hold them off as NiP look to enter their way onto this B-bomb site. Flusher with the CZ-75 in hand will once again even up the situation, and this could be very bad for NiP indeed. Another player falls. They've not got control of this bomb site quite yet, and I like this push from Fnatic, catching them completely off guard. NiP really didn't expect them to push in that fashion, and that is Fnatic's just magic there when they could pull off rounds like that. They did not deserve to win it, but just with phenomenal aim work and phenomenal communication, again with Pronax saying that there was nobody over towards Long, they were able to salvage it.
Well, I think JW, or Jay Wonderchild in this case, he does call himself the Wonderchild, and that really was a wonderful round from him. 2 CZ-75 frags. There is going to be a battle of the snipers at mid, and Olofmeister on short as well will chop off the face of Exist. And can Pronax finally start to rally the troops now? Can Fnatic start to make their way back into this game? JW thinks so with a kill onto the King of Banana, but Geralt is looking to try and breach Long. Sprayed Pronax down onto 12 HP, but still finds himself outnumbered.
The flash comes in just at the wrong time there. Forest will respond quickly, but it's still a 2 versus 4 on with 2 AWPs in hand. This is going to be potentially difficult. Not if Forest can say anything about this. We know what damage this guy can do. He even legs Olofmeister there, pulls out the Tech 9, and the headshot comes out as Forest confirms the hat-trick for round number 10. Back into a 2-on-2 here, Karnite, but they've not got the bomb. And look at JW's positioning here. He's pushed right through, and he's found it now. NiP in a really tricky spot.
JW exterminates Forest, and it's all pressure now on the 3D Max Man on the X-Mal Sportsman on the Fin in Alu. He's just about, no, he's not going to manage to dodge JW, and JW will put his name onto a hat-trick of frags that round, giving his team a hat-trick of rounds. And finally, NiP are being forced onto a bit of a... Well, yeah, no, I mean, they're opting to force it up.
That's very interesting.
They want to keep the pressure on the
yeah.
economy of the CTs. They don't want to allow them to build bank. And if this pays off, full credit to them.
I like the decision, but Get Right gets taken down first. Olaf Meister, you can tell they're feeling confident now. Fnatic warming up here. Looked a bit of a slow start for them, but as of yet, anybody's game, of course, in this long best-of-5 series. Now, did Freiburg pick up that AWP? Yes, he did. And what's very interesting is I want to have a look at their positioning. Obviously, he's not going to be able to hold it over, pass it over to Alu there, because Alu's playing really passive in his sneaky position over towards long. Again, just being very cautious that Pronax doesn't become a sneaky beaver like he has so far and push through long. He's moved away from that position now, so the AWP you would suspect should switch over to Alu, but we'll keep tabs on that.
Yeah, very passive defensive setup coming out from Fnatic. We basically had JW with the AWP just watching B ramp. Meanwhile, Crims is going to try and hold up a tunnel. So NiP, they've been given a lot of breathing space. It's just a case of how they're going to try and utilize it. Pronax has somehow managed to push all the way through long, and I don't think NiP actually noticed this. It's not going to matter because Forest has been killed at the top of mid. Flusher will also get the kill onto Exist, but Freiburg's position has been sussed out. It's not often we see him use the AWP, but it's working for him so far. Turns a 4 versus 2 into a 2 versus 2. And let's see whether NiP can do this. Freiburg, all eyes on tunnels. Oh, he missed the AWP shot, and there's a 2 versus 1. Surely Alu's going to win this round, or maybe not. He's going to go aggressive at B ramp. Alu spots Pronax, but cannot get the final kill. And it will be yet another Fnatic round. But when you consider how much of a dodgy buy it was from NiP going into this round, the fact that they dropped 4 out of 5 players was still pretty impressive, and I'd be very surprised if they opted to force it up this time round. But with NiP's current method of playing style, who knows, and they have gone for it.
It is full YOLO in swing here. And what's really interesting, again, you spotted it out, and we've seen it time and time again, is Pronax pushing through long. And NiP just haven't had an answer for it so far, to be quite honest with you. Exist looking to try and get control of that area himself, though. He's the first one out, of course, with only a Galilei in hand, not the best rifle that you want on this T side, and Get Right's forced to only a Deagle in hand as well. They're going to push through the smoke, and that could be a big mistake, or could it? 2 for 2 trade here. They know exactly where the bomb is. JW is still trying to go for some crazy MLG 420 no-scope type thing over towards short, but unfortunately isn't able to land a shot.
Yeah, it's still advantage to the Ninjas, and this is going to be such a tough retake for JW, especially when you consider his current position. NiP, all they have to do is play this cool, calm and collected, play this patient and wait for the Fnatic players to come to them. JW going for the jump shot, not going to be able to make it. And now the XLGB man in Crims finds himself all alone. He's going to nail Get Right in the face, but Alu and Exist aren't showing themselves. Exist very low on HP, but this is a great crossfire coming out from NiP. And Alu will get the kill. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, they finally stormed back into this 4-round lead, and not too shabby so far from them financially. Fnatic find themselves in a mess, and the force buy paid off from NiP. They upped the tempo, quickly breached that A bomb site, and they've been on point so far.
Yeah, and I think with NiP, for me, really, again, it's been that game, that war of attrition, as we call it at times. You know, just controlling the money of the Fnatic side. We saw it where it was that 5-0 scoreline, then Fnatic took around and NiP instantly responded, and we've kind of seen some similar things here. Fnatic picking up the odd round here or there, but for the most part, Ninjas in Pyjamas have kept their fellow Swedes onto just these pistols. That being said, Fnatic can definitely do damage with them, and we've seen them do damage so far. Get Right aware of that, pushing through long, but he doesn't know that there are 2 more players coming through, so he could get caught out here, but Get Right's a very smart man indeed. He's going to be able to pick up... Oh, I was going to say the quad, but I bit my tongue there. Wasn't the case to be. Still, NiP pick up the round. They've won the half. They're already on 9, and the best that Fnatic can hope for on this CT side of Dust 2 is 6.
Well, that's why a lot of people say, historically and at the moment, Get Right remains one of the best lurkers in the game. Such intelligent play from him. He knew that as the rest of his teammates would go and take control of mid and start pushing short, chances were pretty high that CTs would make their way out of long and try and flank his teammates, so he was there waiting for them. But Crims has been tagged down as he heads over towards the B-bomb site onto 30 HP. And Ninjas in Pyjamas at the moment hurtling up, all in tunnels. They're going straight towards lower tunnels, but if they can flash and smoke off JW, hit mid to B, this could work out well for them. JW is going to spot Freiburg climbing over towards short. In NiP, they've got options here.
Yes, they most certainly do. They've got a lot of time on the clock to play with as well, and Freiburg just using the side of that smoke. I think he's caught out Pronax there, who tried to pop flash his way through the smoke, but didn't get far enough to be able to do so. JW, though, catches the head of Exist and evens up the situation. That being said, again, this is just what NiP can do to you. They'll just catch you off guard, and lovely shots coming in from both Forest and Get Right to secure that two-man lead.
Crimson Flusher in this 4 versus 2. They'll be looking to try and stick together. They know someone's going to be lurking around, and there's only actually 2 of the 4 alive NiP players protecting this bomb, and Flusher's actually going to get this frag. Alu's on the A bomb site, and did Fnatic think it was B? Even they had me full.
I think they were just trying to
Forest
escape.
waiting in T-spawn. He's going to manage to take out Flusher with the AWP, and Crims, he's got one of his own, and he should really be aiming to try and save it.
I really like that play there where they actually kept Forest in T-spawn for pretty much the entirety of the round almost. Crimson's going to be able to pick up another frag there. Really nice reactions onto Freiburg, and the 3 AWPs on the server will be salvaged as we go into the last round of the first half here. 10-4 the score. NiP already on double figures. But yeah, again, to counter JW, who'd already taken down Exist in mid, they kept Forest at the top of T-spawn. And
also allowed him to spot any rotators rotating from B over to A.
Exactly.
But anyways, the triple up setup coming out from NiP. Meanwhile, Fnatic, they're looking for some shotgun kills. JW is going to nail Freiburg in the face. So NiP do find themselves one man down, but I'm all eyes on Get Right's Zeus right now. I want to see whether he's going to be able to cook up a bit of Get Right magic with it.
We will see. He's that player looking to, once again, get information over towards long, but the AWP on that CT side, a crucial player with a crucial gun, has gone down as JW departs from the first half of Dust 2. Now into a 4-on-4. NiP still with a lot of time to work here with Knight.
Definitely Get Right more than aware that Flusher loves to hold this position over to his right, but he's going to spray one down. Flusher with the double. Alu left standing, somehow manages to assassinate his opponent, but now finds himself in a very, very tough 1 versus 3, and he's not going to be able to do it. Credit where it's due to Fnatic. They didn't have much to work with that round, but JW's entry frag was great to help him on their way. And you're pointing this out, Chewy. Olofmeister only on 5 frags. Very unlike him.
Yeah, and look at NiP here. Just consistent play. I know, you know, frag count isn't exactly the most obvious thing to watch out for, as there are so many other things as well to look at. But the fact that NiP are all consistently doing, you know, a good score.
And this is the thing with Fnatic I'm talking about. When they're players always trying to play standing up on that team. When Olofmeister or other players can go quiet, you don't really realise it until you bring up the scoreboard like this and you go, oh wow, they really have been that quiet. So yeah, I mean, that's the beauty about Fnatic. Yeah, it's such a versatile line. Even when Olofmeister probably a star player on such a even when things aren't going like him as an individual, there's always someone else who can step in. I mentioned earlier on, how much of a good player Pronax is, how he's so great when it comes to multitasking as an in-game leader, yet he's also one of those in-game leaders who performs well on the server. If we look at the score, he's actually top of the score for his team. So when you consider, this is a team with the likes of Olofmeister, with the likes of it's a great feat for Pronax to be able to step in. But as well, another man who can see a lot of leaders, as he obviously has, is out. Some people are going to got Ali. But I think it's safe to say that all the NiP players on either 12 or 13 flags at least, including Ali, it was a really solid team effort that half. It was, and again, there was quite a lot of that Romo style of play. Some of the buys that we saw, some of them coming in, some of the pushes maybe at times. But, I mean, if it's working for them and they can take 10 rounds in the T-side of Dust 2, you know, fair play to them, they can do those kind of things. Again, there's not too much to be taken. People who maybe need to see us and look at 10-5 and go, okay, NiP will smash it. That's not as simple as it gets. It was very tough for Fnatic as well, starting on the more expensive CT side. The problem was that a lot of the time, they find themselves up against an NiP side who falls for a hot. Yeah. They have weapons themselves, and then they eventually find themselves back on pistols, and then find themselves playing with pistols up against rifles. And there's not much you can really do in that kind of situation. when you find yourself up against NiP in that kind of scenario, chances are NiP are going to win the double round. Before you know it, the rounds are going to line up. Fnatic taking a page out the book of NiP as they all push towards long. And it's going to be cheeky Forest who's actually flanking from behind with the Silence 2SP. Exists champion with one of his own. They're all coming towards Forest. He will get a double. And NiP, are they going to make it 2 pistol rounds on those two?
It's still just so YOLO. Like, who does that kind of a push is absolutely crazy. But if it works, who is to judge them? Forest gets 2 before.
Departing from this round, Olaf Meister's going to get his head dispatched of as well by Exist, and this is looking very likely that it could be another round in favour of the Ninjas. Unless Flusher can do something about it. He's knocking his players very low indeed, and he's actually been able to pick up Exist here. He turns around, and out of absolutely nowhere, Flusher picks up the round. NiP got complacent.
Well, they faced him 1 by 1, and Flusher's one of those players. He's known for his lurking ability, and he's known for his clutching ability. Many people consider him the best clutcher in CS as well, and he's so good. You watch him on the camera, he somehow manages to stay calm, even when there is so much money up on the line. Get Right has been tagged down 66 HP. But Fnatic so close to losing that last round. Very surprised they didn't actually leave a player in T-spawn watching down mid, because he may have been able to actually catch Forest, who was looking to flank from behind. But anyway, straight towards B, Fnatic are heading.
Freiburg going to be the first man to stop them in their tracks. Not if Flusher's got anything to say about it, though, as he will respond to. Get Right can do some good damage. Yes, you said he has been tagged. Now tagged, in fact, even lower, and Fnatic are still marching on forwards this B-bomb site. JW actually misses a shot and gets punished for it, tagged very low indeed, but just look at the HP for NiP here, all under 20 points of health. They're not going to be able to pick up this round, you wouldn't imagine. And that should be 7 to 10, and this is the thing, kind of, that 1 versus 3 clutch there from Flusher could be one of the defining moments in this map. That could have been the glimmer of hope for Fnatic to really bring this ball back now, you know, and roll it in their favour.
Well, it's not over just yet. Never with Fnatic. It's never over with Fnatic.
Yep.
Especially once a pause comes in. There's something magical about Fnatic's pauses. But as things currently stand, they don't need one, because NiP will find themselves on pretty much only P250s, probably with no armor as well going into this next round. They'll be wanting to buy up come 4th round of this second half. So let's see what's going to happen. We've got 2 scouts. It'll be interesting to see where these scouts go. I wouldn't be surprised to see one on the A-bomb side, just sort of utilizing the accuracy of the jumping scout just behind the boxes, and maybe one to go towards mid. It's actually Freiburg who's going to try and face Pronax or JW at mid. Crims opens things up against Get Right, and Get Right gets a team kill as well.
Not exactly what you want when you're trying to build that economy once again here, and just a clean sweep. Hardly any players tagged down whatsoever, and that's 5 left alive for Fnatic as they confirm round number 8 here. Now, this is going to be the interesting thing here for NiP for me. What are they going to do AWP-wise? It looks like they're only going to go for 1, and why does that not surprise me to see Get Right pick up a P90?
It's best weapon in the game, don't you think?
In his opinion,
alongside
it seems
the auto
so.
sniper. The Negev ain't too bad either.
I'm personally a fan of the M249.
So Alu, he's spotted the Fnatic players heaving towards him at long. It's a nice boost coming out from NiP. It'll allow the player boosted up on Freiburg's head in Exist to be able to look just over that smoke, see if any players are going towards Catwalk, and I think Exist may just about have caught a glimpse of Crims trying to jump on this Xbox, but Alu, he's got to be careful not to get caught out as he repositions. There it is, he's spotted Pronax. Pronax knows he's been seen. And let's see what Fnatic are going to try and do to readjust here.
This is really interesting that Flusher's taking this position now. You can see him just smoking off the corner there, seeing if there was potential for Alu to peek wide and move over it. He's going for the jumping shot with the scout, but of course now, with the hitboxes being changed very recently, Alu punishes him for it. And that's the first player down in round number 19. Advantage NiP.
Pronax unsure, looking to rally the troops towards the A-bomb side, but you know what? They're actually heading towards B with 35 seconds on the clock. Get Right lurking around the top of long. He's going to spot that Pronax is all by himself, and Forest is going to see this herd of Fnatic players heading straight towards him. And the Ninjas in pyjamas will get their 11th round on the board. But Fnatic, thanks to winning the pistol, thanks to winning the next 2 rounds in a row on this cheaper T side, more than enough to rebuy an AWP and buy up some AK-47s to play with as well. So don't count them out just yet.
Most certainly not, but well played in that last round from NiP. They looked pretty darn solid across the board on their defense, including Forest, who did pick up a nice little hat trick as they entered over towards that B bomb site. So here we go into round number 20. Let's see if NiP can extend that lead further and regain their 4-round lead that they've had quite a few times actually so far in this map, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously Fnatic wanting to bring it back in their favor and try and destroy that CT economy, which happened to them so much in that first half.
So Fnatic, as per usual, they've managed to get the short control. The question is, what can they do with it? It looks like they are going to maybe try and hit the A bomb site, but they're going to have a very angry Alu to try and deal with first. Olofmeister is going to slay Freiburg. Rotation comes in. Alu just about misses another AWP shot, but look who's waiting for them. It's Exist on A ramp, who can't even get a frag. Pronax with 2 massive headshots. Olofmeister does what Olofmeister does best, and now it's all down to Forest to clutch, and he very well may do it. A double kill from him, and it's Olof versus Forest, but Flusher, he's the lurker, yes. And he just showed us why. Yeah, exactly. Just slowly see him peeking through the mid doors and then rushing out, realizing that it could have been a close encounter. But key players on the NiP side there for me, it really was Alu. He needed to land those shots. Exist, I think, was able to pick up 1 frag, but no more as they entered onto that site. And Fnatic just relentless, pushing through short there onto that A bomb site. They were not giving it up for anybody. They landed their shots, and they were rewarded for it here. And not only have they been rewarded with a round win, they have now officially broken that economy of the NiP side. Yep, it's fully reset. The odd P250 here and there. But still, you've got to play this slowly if you're Fnatic. You can't underestimate these P250s. It does become a one-shot headshot, even up against an opponent with a helmet, when you get too far up close. But Forest, first casualty of the round, JW the murderer, and let's see how this pans out. Looks like GetRight's biding to try and just maybe take a gun off one of these Fnatic players here, flashing his way through mid, but Pronax once again starting things off on to Alu. This should be 10 to 11 unless GetRight has got anything to say about it. He doesn't land his shots again. The P250 outweighed by the AK, but Exist. This could be damaging. Olofmeister peeks aggressively though, and I really like that play, not allowing Exist time to pick up that AK-47, cock it, and fire any bullets. He'll dispatch of him, and that confirms Fnatic into double figures here. 10-11. This game is still anybody's. Definitely is. Fnatic starting to make their way back into the game. NiP, only 1 CT round for them so far, and that's not going to do them any help. JW, fantastic shot straight through that gap in the double doors. I can't emphasize how difficult that is to pull off. Flusher pushing straight through double doors. Alu gets 1, and GetRight goes aggressive at long and gets a frag onto Olofmeister, and suddenly this round is completely open. Look at who's just pushed through the side of the smoke, though. It's Pronax being a sneaky little beaver, and Freiburg was not expecting that whatsoever. And now we see NiP in a very tricky situation. Fnatic have got full control of this B bomb site, and look at how low these NiP players are. They're not going to be able to challenge for this one. You can see the smoke down there towards CT spawn, and the Kobe from JW takes Alu out of the map. And so we're all even here, kind of 11 to 11, and this is the thing that worries me. Again, I know it was a best of 1. I know it was online, which is completely different from this in a lot of aspects, but you've got to think about how NiP are going to be playing the CT side, because it was certainly the side that they looked a lot weaker on the other day on this map against Fnatic. And you've just got to ask the question, was 10 rounds on their T side enough? I'd like to see Ninjas in Pyjamas try and assert a bit more dominance towards mid-control. Fnatic are one of those teams that they're so good that you really don't want to give them the time and breathing space to set up, especially on a place like short that allows you to execute, not only flash teammates into long, but execute set pieces towards the A bomb site or execute set pieces once you've got mid towards the B bomb site. I'd love to see NiP go a little bit more aggressive, particularly these players with the rifles, maybe stick together on 1 bomb site. But Fnatic, they're playing this by the book. They know their opponents are going to be low on cash, so they're taking this nice and slow. Let's see what they can do. That's nice from Pronax. Yeah, that's a really good opening frag there onto Alu, and Crims is going to continue on the fashion, although GetRight does respond. Lovely headshot there into Crims. He's got the bomb. And this is exactly what he can do out of absolutely nowhere. Forest has been able to pick up an AWP, and NiP on the verge of picking up a round that they really didn't deserve to win on the back of GetRight and Forest, both with doubles. But Flusher, we've seen him pick up a 1 versus 3 so far this half. Can he pull off another one? Well, Flusher opened fire onto Forest, but he's going to make it a hat-trick of kills, and That second kill from Get Right. I mean, people ask why Get Right is considered such a legendary player. People ask why a lot of people still to this very day, despite the fact that NiP aren't in the best of form, still consider him one of the best CSGO players around. That is why, and he can step it up right when it counts most. All that experience he's got under his belt.
But again, just look at how much Fnatic have been coming back into this once olofmeister starts picking up the kills. He had 5 frags after that first half, and now he's landed himself on 13 even, or so. You know, he's picked up the game, but Forest has made that his 24th kill, I do believe. Exist will be taken down in response, so back into a 4-on-4 here, and Fnatic have got good control of mid. Not if Forest has got anything to say about it. Not sure if I like that petition, pushing through aggressively. But Get Right responds once again. This is just back and forward action, Karnite. It never stops.
Yeah, Get Right opens fire onto the face of JW, but Pronax goes aggressive, wants to try and retrieve this bomb that Get Right is going to be lurking around, trying to protect. He is the guardian of this bomb right now, and I think he's heard them pick it up. They will put the Molotov down, but he has this AWP, so if he picks at the right moment, he will get a frag, but no! Get Right just about misses it. He had an opportunity to turn that 2 versus 1 into at least a 1 versus 1. And now Fnatic have only gone and planted for long, and Get Right has a massive job on his hands.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult indeed for him. He has got a kit, so he's got time to work with, but Flusher will not let that happen. 12-12 the score. We're all even once again here on Dust 2. And Karnite, I've got to say, I know we did give NiP this first map, but if the rest of this series is as much of a close encounter as we've seen so far, then we're in for a real treat in this best of 5.
Do you think it will be, though?
I hope it will be. I really hope it will be. I don't think it will, but I hope it will be.
Exist. Now, he's the main sniper for the Ninjas, but Get Right not able to capitalize as the Fnatic men roared towards him from long, and now they know they've got this long control. They'll most likely try and sneak maybe JW into pit. Yep, here he is. He's going to be escorted into pit by Pronax and co. Meanwhile, the rest will probably fall back to mid, try to get short control and execute towards the A bomb site, then plant for long, and it should be, in theory, an easy round for Fnatic. So all pressure on the Ninjas to try and repel any attacks coming their way now.
And that's very interesting that they've chosen Exist for that sniper role. I'm not too sure if he had a great spawn for long to start things off, but Alu, you know, he's just on a pistol here, and Alu's been playing pretty darn well with the AWP so far, so interesting gun choices from NiP. That being said, Alu is looking to do damage with that 5-7 in hand as Forest takes down olofmeister. We're into an even situation, but NiP are in a tricky spot. Look at the control that Fnatic have got of this A bomb site, and also keep a watch out for this player on your screen now, JW.
Forest is going to assassinate Crims. He's going to kill Pronax as well, and suddenly NiP, they have the upper hand, but this bomb is still planted. Exist is all eyes on long as JW somehow manages to exterminate him. Bomb planted for long, and it's all pressure on the Wonder Child. He's going to drop Freiburg. He's in search of that second kill, but Alu's actually on ramp, and JW with a brilliant effort there, clutching the round for Fnatic. And they are finally going to charge into the lead. 13-12, and NiP, they're broke.
That really could have been the round that changed the game, to be quite honest. Forest was almost the saviour for NiP, but another thing, they didn't have kits. And this is the thing that we've not talked about so far yet, but you know, we've mentioned the CT economy, but to be able to pick up everything you need, including those diffuse kits, is so important. So NiP, the clock was ticking very, very fast indeed. They lost the round thanks to the help of JW with the AWP in hand. And now they will be, as you say, forced back onto pistol. So this is looking very good for Fnatic to make it a 14-12 scoreline. And pressure then is on NiP. And let's not forget that this was a 10-5 first half. Since then, NiP have only been able to pick up 2 rounds.
Well, that's Fnatic for you.
Yes.
As simple as that. And there's no lie that NiP have been somewhat disappointing as well on this CT side. JW has an idea roughly with regards to Freiburg's whereabouts. The ex-FM Toxic man played under the leadership of the one and only Scottish legend in Neil Zeno. Shout out to him. But yeah, 14-12, Fnatic looking healthy, and for me, NiP, it's do or die at this current moment in time.
Yeah, and they've got no AWPs. Have they been able to purchase any kits? They have not whatsoever, so this is going to be a really tricky one indeed. You can see, of course, as you would expect, JW with just the AWP in hand. But Karnat, what do you think about this decision from olofmeister? Well, it's not worked whatsoever because he's 7 HP.
He hasn't, but 7 HP is plenty for a player with Olaf Meister's skill set.
Yeah,
Forest.
with that gun.
I don't care. The Mac Daddy, bro. Get right with the P90 onto Olaf Meister, who had the Mac 10. And there's a flash coming in from Forest. He's going to spray down Pronax, but it's still advantage to the Ninjas. Talking about Ninjas, Freiburg's definitely jumping around like one at the back of this B-bomb site. People call him the king of banana, but he's got to be the king of the B-bomb site if he's going to stand a chance of winning this duel up against JW and his AWP. He's looking to try and open up this B-bomb site. But is he pulling out? Crims is still in spawn here, so he's taking his time, trying to see if he can catch any rotating NiP players, and he does. Exist had no idea he was obviously going to be there, and it's worked brilliantly. And now Alu's trying to chase him down.
And this could be really tricky because look at where JW's going through lower tunnels, and Crims wins the gunfight against Alu. This has all turned in favor of Fnatic, and this is what they can do time and time again. JW just misses the time of that AWP shot, but Freiburg with a lot of work to do, and JW has got flashbangs in hand to work with. You can just see how low Crims is. Freiburg gets one though. He's found the head of Crims, and we're into a 1 versus 1. Crucial round for NiP. Freiburg sprays, he prays, but can he pick up the kill? Once again, Kyanite, he hasn't got a kit.
He doesn't. He's got to move fast, does Freiburg. You said he was spraying and praying, and those prayers have been answered. Freiburg will clutch. Does he have enough time? He definitely does. And NiP are not over and done with things so far. They're still back in this. 14-13. Fnatic, they did so well to bring that 3 versus 2 back in their favor. But such brilliant, phenomenal anticipation to anticipate JW coming from double doors.
Again, this is going to be a really crucial round for me, for NiP to pick up. Not only if they lose this, will it gift Fnatic map point on NiP's map choice, let's not forget. This was NiP who chose Dust 2 against this team, but also the economy is going to be pretty dire indeed. Fnatic changing up the pace though, and I love it. First 2 frags, Get Right and Exist. Down they fall over towards Long, and this could be already big trouble in round number 28 for the Ninjas.
Yeah, Fnatic wiping out 2 out of 5 Ninjas in Pyjamas players. Alu, they know he's here, but with this pop flash, it could actually work perfectly. He does have a player. Oh, he's actually going to run past him. JW hiding in the smoke. And before you can say Bob's your uncle, Fnatic find themselves on match point here on NiP's map. It's been close, but NiP has the fat lady sung, is this it?
And this is the thing again, and you've got to wonder, kind of, what would have happened if NiP had have won that pistol round on this CT side? They were 10-5 up in a 3 versus 1 situation, and somehow, a couple more rounds later, we find ourselves 15-13 the score, NiP on the brink of going a map down in this best of 5.
Well, Fnatic, they've figured out how NiP is setting up, and then they're putting the mass majority of their men, they're up in the tempo so early on in the round to try and overpower them and get entry frags. That's exactly what they did at Long, but that's a fantastic kill from Get Right, but he's not going to be able to salvage a weapon. But hey, it's a step in the right direction for the Ninjas.
If he can do a happy here and pull off some crazy deagle skills, anything
if there's anyone
can happen
on this server right now who will be able to do that, it's definitely him.
Oh yes, and they need a saving grace here. Backs against the walls on Dust 2 for the Ninjas in Pyjamas. Flusher lurking around mid once again, just trying to find out that information. And I really don't blame Fnatic for taking this slowly. They know that NiP's money is broken. They know that they're going to be holding these tight angles.
Crossfire as well in the B-bomb site from NiP is so nice, and it seems like Fnatic could very well be heading there. Flusher pop flashing straight out of double doors. He is going to dump away Exist and go towards lower tunnels, so this just about confirms it. And Forest with the CZ75, this angle is perfect. Chewy, he's gonna manage to somehow exterminate Crims. He knows more are coming towards him. Forest with 2. Oh, so close to making it a triple, but there is the crossfire in action, and the Ninjas are not down and out just yet. They're gonna continue to fight on. And this is what it comes down to. Oh, he's so early on this morning, going into overtime. Or are Fnatic just about going to edge this first map 16-14? Let's wait and find out.
Oh my gosh, this is what we wanted to see at the Gfinity champion of champions. Great Counter-Strike action right from the word go. And talking about going, Pronax is going to go in normal time. That's him out for the count here to the hands of Get Right. He's found information though, but Alu, I'm not too sure if he spotted that player who just jumped over towards top mid. I think that was actually Flusher, who's now congregating with his teammate in Crims.
Yeah, so mid control in the hands of Fnatic. There's a CT spawn smoke, hence why Alu's fallen back to play this a little bit more passive, but he spotted Fnatic men rushing straight towards him. Olaf chimes in with one. Alu with the no-scope. He knows Flush is also coming to him. The Finn goes huge on the B bomb site. And now JW. If there's anyone you wanted in this clutch situation for Fnatic, it was going to be him with the AWP in his hands. Can he do it? That is the question.
I love how he's baited them out here. He put the smoke down to make them think that he was just going to run across and plant the bomb. Then he pushed through his own smoke and checked CT spawn because, you know, NiP really wouldn't expect him to peek out from there. So great play by JW. Unfortunate that he wasn't able to find anything whilst the Ninjas here. They've got a flashbang and a smoke grenade to work with. Let's see how they start to utilize it. Once again, JW just peeking around to see what he can find. He misses his first shot and has slightly been tagged. Flashbang goes out. Oh my gosh, this is close. JW with one. It's a 1 versus 1 here. Will he get it? No! Forrest picks up the kill, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to overtime.
I thought JW had it there. I honestly thought he did, and there it is. 15-15. People have been saying that this NiP team are down and out. We expected Dust 2 to be a close one. You said that they came here nice and early to warm up.
Yes.
And they're definitely reaping the rewards as things currently stand. What happens on the next maps, I don't care. I'm focused full ahead on Dust 2 at the moment. And there we have it. MR3, 10K cash. Ninjas in pajamas starting on the counter-terrorist side. It would take a brave man to put money on these two teams right now.
Oh, yes, indeed. Hearts pounding, I'm sure, for everybody. Here we go. Let's see what happens as we go into overtime. Can Fnatic resume good play on this T side, or will Alu? Well, there we go. There's the answer. Pronax is the first man down once again here, and that's a big early kill here for the Ninjas.
It is, but again, Fnatic are getting that short control to execute from, but exist. He's put down that defensive smoke to hold them off a little bit, and he's in a nice position, providing he can at least get 1 or 2 frags before going down. And this is the switch coming in from Ninjas in Pajamas. Exist now falling more passive towards A ramp. Get right heading towards CT spawn, but it seems like the confirmation has come in that someone's going to be making their way towards the A bomb site. Alu is going to blow JW to smithereens, and this Fnatic attack, well, it's crumbling.
But we all know what damage these 3 players left alive on this Fnatic team can do, and they've certainly pulled off worse situations. So not out of this one yet. Exist biding his time once again here over towards that A-ramp area. His head is going to be dispatched off to the hands of Flusher there. Get right tagging, I think that's Olafmeister. Yes, it must be very low, 10 HP for him. The bomb's not been planted yet. Forrest looking to already try and retake that A bomb site, but Fnatic have somehow weaned this 3 versus 5 into a 3 versus 2, and they've got the bomb down.
NiP, they've got to play this as a unit, and they just about finally do. It's the banana duo in Freiburg and Get Right who chime in with perfect timing together, and they will defuse this bomb. Forrest on top of the scoreboard, 32 frags. Overall, not just for NiP, and he was getting a lot of stick, you know, a few months ago, people saying that he's not been playing enough, he really needs to step it up, he's not sort of been playing at the level that we expect a player of his caliber with his history to play at. But ever since NiP have adapted this more fluid play style, he's really been playing superb CS. It's like Forrest back in 1.6, dare I say it. And this is typical Get Right. No care in the world, pushing straight up mid, but Crims, oh, he waited for him, and he murdered him. And the CTs are a man down.
Alu actually pushing aggressively as well. They're just trying to peek and get some information from lower tunnels where exactly Olafmeister finds himself now. So that first frag now going in favor of Fnatic, as you do say, with Get Right down for the count, but Alu responds, and we've seen him do this time and time again. He's taking down one AW player, but Olafmeister still does have his AWP in hand, and Alu's really feeling confident, and this is the, like, you know, this is the style that I personally really like seeing Alu do, when he can get confident like that and peek into lower tunnels in that situation, knowing that the likes of Olafmeister is nearby, and there's the second frag for him in this round.
Fnatic, are they going to check this corner? Freiburg with trigger control, gets the double spray down with his signature M4A4, and now Olaf, arguably the best player in Counter-Strike at the moment. But surely not even he, a player with his quality, can clutch this, or maybe he's going to prove me wrong. Exist, first player exterminated for NiP. And Olaf knows what's coming here. He knows there were plenty of players over towards that B bomb site, and they're most likely going to try and cross double doors to rotate in. But Chewy, he's got this bomb with 15 seconds to go. He has to plant to keep this round alive.
I just love that baiting there towards the mid doors. Olaf Meister expecting them to over-rotate and go quickly. Oh my gosh, hello Olaf Meister, that's a nice kill, but it will be responded by Forest. The no-scope onto Freiburg caused momentary panic for the Swedish side of NiP, but they still managed to finish it off. 2 rounds in a row here for Ninjas in Pyjamas into the last round of this first half of overtime.
Yeah, this is it. Can Ninjas in Pyjamas make it a clean half here on the CT side, which they struggled so much on in normal time? Only time will tell. Alu, he's managed to go unnoticed straight out of double doors, went in search of a leaping Fnatic player down towards lower tunnels. But he is now going to fall back as NiP, they seem to know exactly what's going on. Exist definitely knows what's going on as Forest will execute JW. NiP 4 versus 3. Can they do this?
Alu got so much information there. When he pushed through mid doors, he heard them coming up through short. But Olaf Meister with the Tech 9 in hand just deals Freiburg a nasty little headshot. Get right will spray down. But we find ourselves now in a 1 versus 2. Exist versus the double AWP setup of Olaf Meister and Crims. Back and forth frag so far this round. He's got a flashbang to work with. He's actually just utilised that now, and I don't think it really did too much. So Exist really does have a tricky time on his hands. And he won't be able to do so. 17 to 16 the half.
Yeah, quite poor from Ninjas in Pyjamas to let that round slip. And when it is this sort of overtime format, every little helps, as a famous supermarket once said. And I'll tell you what, that Olaf Meister jumping Tech 9 kill, Rec 9, we call it that for a reason, was pretty nice. I mean, I believe it was his controversial use of the Tech 9, where 50% of his kills actually came in from the Tech 9. ESL 1 Katowice 2015, and that's how good he is with that weapon. But here we go. Can Olaf Meister pick up a Tech 9 off one of these descending NiP players and rework that relationship that he has with that beautiful pistol? You call it the 3rd best rifle in the game.
I do, indeed. And here we go into this second half of overtime now here. And of course, we all know the magic number of 19 that these teams are biding for to try and pick up. And if it goes to 18-18, we'll see a second overtime here, which personally I'd love, but for the sake of a best of 5, and another best of 5 following this one, which will certainly be a very good matchup indeed. We could be here all night, not that I would be complaining.
Forest as part of this double AWP setup. Oh my god, Olaf Meister, he spotted Forest's bomb, but could not capitalize. As JW waits patiently, and he's just about going to get Freiburg through the smoke. It's 4 versus 3. Fnatic just about holding on strong as the Ninjas in Pyjamas players dash towards this short area. Get right heading towards double doors, maybe looking to flank any rotating players. But he's really put his money and he's gambling on the fact that Ali will be able to infiltrate this A-bomb site. There's the first kill onto JW. And there's actually no more Fnatic players on top of this bomb site. Flush is rotating in from CT spawn. Get right in a perfect position to say see you later to Crims. And now all pressure on Pronax.
It's again Pronax pushing through long. He's done this time and time again. I was spotting it out on the mini-map because it was just so obvious that he could potentially do so. And that's exactly what he does here. He's got 100 points of health and he burns Alu here, so it's Exist versus Pronax, the in-game leader battle here. In a 1 versus 1, but Exist wins the gunfight. That's unlucky for Pronax, and it was headshot versus headshot. And of course, we all know the AK-47 wins in that battle.
This is pretty much the definition of down to the wire, and that's what you get in an amazing Swedish derby like this. It's basically Man United versus Man City, just in Counter-Strike Swedish terms. Alu trying to get that tag through double doors, not so successful. And they are going to leave Get right there, just as they did in normal time, trying to feel out the map now, NiP. They know one more round is all it takes to run into a 1-0 lead in this best of 5 here at the Champion of Champions Gfinity tournament with 100k up for grabs. Let's see whether Fnatic can make this 18-17.
NiP once again still biting for that double AWP setup. They really do enjoy going with the 2 big green guns, and who can blame them? It seems to be working overall so far. And they have looked stronger overall, I have to say, on their T side for me. So if they can convert this last round, it wouldn't surprise me. But that being said, this is Fnatic, the best team in the world. The Pizza Molotov comes in as it forces Flusher out, and Alu will capitalize on that as he picks up the first kill of the round. Forest with another one chimes in as well, and JW misses a shot. He is punished for it. Crimson Pronax, they've got to save the map here for Fnatic. 2 versus 5, 1 versus 5 now. This is surely it.
Well, Alu confirms it, and that was beautiful Counter-Strike to watch from Ninjas in Pyjamas. Such freedom on Forest and Alu. You know, Xist just told them, look guys, you've both got these AWPs. Walk on towards the A-bomb site. Yeah. Put your money where your mouth is. Find me these entry frags. And they did so with absolute ease.
And you've got to say, I mean, in the grand scheme of things here, it was NiP's map choice. And we said at the start of this series, in all honesty, we think this is probably going to be a 3-1 scoreline in favour of Fnatic. And if there was any map that NiP could take against Dust 2, against Fnatic even, it would be Dust 2.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, NiP's sort of newly developed style of play. Yeah. Dust 2 is one of those maps that allows that fluidity, that high-tempo style of play. Meanwhile, next up we have Cobblestone, then Mirage, which are very set-piece orientated maps. They're much more team-based maps. You can't get away with that style of play that Ninjas in Pyjamas did on D-Dust 2. And we know, of course, that Cobblestone, Fnatic are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the world on that map. Yeah. So, I don't know. Let's not get too overexcited just yet for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but credit where it's due.
Yeah, they managed to close out the map, and it's that resilience. Let's not forget, I believe the scoreline, they were 15-13 down, and then they won that crazy eco round somehow, and Forest with that CZ7-5 just somehow did it. Anyway, I think we all need a break from that one. So we'll be back in just a few minutes' time to analyze that map, and then we'll move on to Cobblestone. Map number 2 between NiP and Fnatic very soon on your screens.
Go football. Are you ready for this? Because I know I am. So let's go.
I want you to draw me like one of your French girls.
I'm flying.
Check this out.